The terrain of the conflict between the Harrigans and Stevensons changed in MobLand's 8th episode, but a theory regarding a single, minor moment from the show's conclusion has the potential to completely alter the dynamics of the Harrigan criminal enterprise. The immediate aftermath of Brendan Harrigan's murder and the concurrent rescue of Seraphina Harrigan by the enigmatic Cat McAllister were both covered in Episode 8. Conrad Harrigan's business-savvy daughter was spared what might have been a devastating blow to both him and the Harrigan criminal organization as a whole. The certainty of the Harrigans' future is called into question with each move and countermove made by Richie, Conrad, or Maeve. Given that Maeve is actively plotting with Richie and Conrad appears to be becoming more unstable by the day, it is impossible to predict how long the Harrigans will remain a significant force in the London criminal underworld. Furthermore, a remark Maeve made to her lone surviving son may indicate a future conflict that could permanently destroy the Harrigan family. A major twist in MobLand is set up by Kevin's other brother. Maeve tells Kevin that he or his brother will be the Harrigans' future, but Kevin corrects her by pointing out that Brendan is no longer alive. Her devilish remark that she is referring to his other brother instantly infuriates Kevin, who then hurls a terrible curse at his mother. Before he is interrupted by his son Eddie, who leaves his room with a happy bounce in his step following his most recent encounter with Gina, he nearly appears as though he might strike her. The way Kevin responds, it's obvious that he believes his mother is referring to Brendan, which means that Kevin doesn't think of the other brother very often, and most definitely not in the sense that he is a brother. His utter surprise and subsequent indignation that she would even mention that individual is telling, as it suggests that he was either unaware of their existence or found it offensive. Naturally, one of the main mysteries of the series going forward is who Kevin's other brother is. Hypothesis: Eddie is not Kevin's son, but Conrad's. There are many reasons to think that Eddie Harrigan, Kevin's presumed son, is the other brother that Maeve mentions. Although it's an almost too obvious visual clue, Eddie interrupts Kevin as he starts to lose it over his mother. It wouldn't be unusual for MobLand, which doesn't usually deal with subtlety. The fact that Kevin and his son have only argued throughout the series is more significant, though. Eddie has nothing but contempt for his father, and it appears that Kevin feels the same way. Although Eddie is very different from his more restrained and worried father due to his erratic and reckless behavior, Conrad is another character whose personality Eddie shares. It has already been made public that Conrad cheated on Maeve with a number of young women, including Bella, who was only about 20 years old when Kevin married her. In order to effectively hide the infidelity, or at least the obvious proof of it, it would seem entirely reasonable that Conrad would have gotten her pregnant and then forced his son to wed Bella. It makes sense that they wouldn't have told Eddie, even though Maeve is obviously aware. What it would mean if Eddie were Conrad's son. The fact that Maeve's reference to his other brother was essentially a threat is one of the things that infuriated Kevin. She was hinting that Kevin's claim to the Harrigan throne was not assured and that, should he falter, there was a better alternative. Eddie is obviously Conrad and Maeve's choice for who makes decisions when they're not around if he is, in fact, Conrad's son rather than Kevin's. Conversely, Eddie's status as Conrad's son may provide a previously unobserved explanation for Maeve's behavior thus far. Maeve Harrigan, who is extremely proud, views Seraphina as a living, breathing reminder of Conrad's adultery, which is why she despises her. To a far greater extent, Eddie would be the same thing. The insistence on keeping him around would undoubtedly support Maeve's desire to destroy Conrad's empire. She is motivated by retaliation for Conrad's decades of derogatory remarks rather than by sound business judgment. Although Eddie has been shown to be Maeve's obvious favorite thus far, every piece of evidence supporting this favoritism doesn't really help Eddie in the long run. Maeve was responsible for Eddie's killing of Tommy Stevenson, which only served to place him in Richie Stevenson's crosshairs. She gave him cocaine in a scene that was staged for laughs, which was obviously not good for him as a young man who was obviously unstable. Although not directly at her hands, Maeve's use of Eddie for her own ends has really done nothing but endanger his life. Could Kevin's other brother be someone else? Given that Conrad views Harry as a son, particularly following his rescue of Seraphina, it doesn't seem likely that Maeve is referring to Harry as Kevin's other brother. Maeve has already accused Harry of betraying her once, probably to throw the scent off herself, and she doesn't like or trust him. Furthermore, if Kevin had believed that Maeve was referring to Harry, he wouldn't have reacted angrily because, based on what we've seen, he does view Harry as a brother and isn't suspicious that he would usurp Kevin's place in the family. Other than Eddie, there aren't many other cast members that we are aware of. There is a chance that Kevin's brother, Harrigan, who has not yet been introduced, will be revealed. Given that Seraphina was born out of wedlock and that Conrad had extramarital affairs throughout his life, it seems particularly plausible. But it seems like a bad idea to add another family member when there are already so many plots and subplots going on. Of all the possible future MobLand twists, the idea that Eddie Harrigan is Kevin's other brother seems the most likely.